pro.
Let's go to Hugh. Hugh Hewitt's joining us. Hugh Hewitt of the Hugh Hewitt Show. Hugh, first of all, as you know, Jonathan points out that it's in keeping with some things to abstain, but it is definitely not in keeping with U.S. policy at the United Nations to not veto something like this. Senator Tom Cotton's comment here is a very popular Republican line that is, again, empirically not true. Barack Obama and Benjamin Netanyahu don't like each other, but the relationship between the U.S. and Israel is not weakened.
I have to disagree with you, Ollie, and with my friend Jonathan. I do believe he is the most anti-Israel president we've had in modern times.
By what measure?
I believe that this is a...
By what measure?
By not vetoing this, which would have been vetoed by any previous modern president.
This makes him the most anti-Israel president in years?
And if I can finish, the
but
key
you said
here
he has
is what
been
Senator
until
Cotton
this
said
moment,
and
Hugh,
what
until
Senator
today.
Schumer has said.
Until today, what made him the most anti-Israel president?
His refusal to listen to Netanyahu and the Israeli government when the Iran deal was signed. It's not the amount of aid that we send. Congress is responsible for that. But I agree with Senator Schumer. This ought to have been vetoed. I agree with Lindsey Graham. The UN ought to have its appropriations cut. It's not just Tom Cotton. Chuck Schumer is the Democratic minority leader, and they're going to stay in the minority for a long time, and I would like those 25 Senate Democrats on the ballot in 2018 to come up and defend what is an atrocious betrayal of our ally today at the United Nations. It's really an outrageous day for American-Israeli relations.
All right, so Senator, let me just ask you this. Samantha Power, the UN ambassador, really outlined the degree to which the United States supports Israel and the degree to which the Security Council doesn't tend to be fair toward Israel. I think she outlined that. I don't know how much of it you got to hear, but it was really, really clear. She said it. She said the UN Security Council won't criticize Syria. It won't do all sorts of things that normal people would do, but it gets on Israel no matter what happened. That seemed like a fairly balanced explanation about what's going on.
Ollie, for this administration, it's always important not to listen to what they say, but to see what they do. President Obama declared a red line in Syria, but he did nothing when Bashar Assad used chemical weapons. He declared he would lead from behind, but in fact, he didn't do any leading at all. He called ISIS the JVs, and he acted not to stop them until they had rampaged across
but Hugh,
Iraq and Syria.
this isn't an all-out indictment. We're talking about Israel. The weapon sales to Israel that are funded by and provided by the United States don't happen without the president's approval in this country.
He lacked the willingness to veto appropriations, which includes that. But objectively, just objectively, Ollie, no one has ever vetoed or abstained on a situation like this. And I would ask Jonathan or you to come up with a situation where an anti-Israel UN Security Council resolution has not been vetoed. When has that ever not happened before? It just hasn't, and that's because this president and Samantha Power, who stood by while Aleppo burned, are now standing by when the UN gangs up on Israel. It's outrageous.
So you're right, Hugh, that this kind of resolution has not been approved or abstained from, thereby approved in the past. They've vetoed all these resolutions in the past. But this particular resolution is consistent with what has been U.S. policy all along. So to define it as an anti-Israel resolution when it's consistent with what Israel agreed to after the 1967 war, what Israel has agreed to pretty consistently, that there be movement toward a two-state solution, and that movement can't come without some resolution of the settlements issue. But where I think you're onto something very important, Hugh, is just looking ahead. When you talked about the United States cutting off, or at least threatening to cut off, aid to the United Nations, we have a coming confrontation between the United States and the United Nations when Donald Trump becomes president. That is clear. We are going to be talking about a struggle between the United Nations and the United States for the next 4 years, and it's going to get very ugly.
Guys, thank you very much for your analysis. Hugh, always good to see you. James Peterson from Lehigh University and Jonathan Alter, I appreciate your analysis here.